Hey folks, my name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and today we're taking a look at Dark City, the first expansion for Marvel Legendary, a deck building game, or Legendary, a Marvel deck building game, something like that, you get the idea. So I did a review of Legendary before, and if you watch that, you know that I love that game. It's a fantastic cooperative, semi-cooperative, unfortunately, game where you're shield agents drafting heroes into your deck, trying to defeat a mastermind and stop his scheme along with all of his villains and henchmen. Really great game, very thematic, great artwork, really great game. Now, Dark City is a type, the first expansion is a type of expansion that just adds more. It doesn't change the game in any fundamental ways or add like a brand new set of mechanics, although there are some new abilities, but it just adds more and more and more, which is really what fans were clamoring for anyway. So you've got lots more heroes. There's a lot of heroes that have to do with the so-called Marvel Knights line, which is Knights with a K, which are more of the darker heroes. Like you've got the Punisher, Blade, Iron Fist, Daredevil, and then there's new villain groups and new masterminds, like Apocalypse, Mr. Sinister, the Kingpin. Basically, this is all just living up to the name. All the stuff in this game is much darker, and everything is much more difficult, much more difficult, which is something that some of the fans had complained about in the original game. In addition, there's also a lot of new artwork in the game. Other fans had also, I didn't really care, but some people had complained that all of the artwork for all of the heroes and villains was all the same, so they changed up the artwork on each of the individual cards. Now, that's all well and good. That's all what's in the expansion. But is this really worth getting if you have the core set, just adding more and more cards? Well, I've played with it, so I'm going to show you what's in this set exactly, and we're going to come back, and I'll let you know whether it's worth purchasing for your Legendary game. Alright folks, there's a lot of new stuff in the Dark City expansion. It's almost as many cards as the actual base game itself, or maybe more cards, I'm not entirely sure. I'm just going to go rapid fire through all the different kinds of new stuff that's in the game, starting with the new heroes. So we have Angel, and Angel is part of the X-Men, and all the different stats and stuff on the cards are the same as from the base Legendary set, but they have all new kinds of abilities. Angel has a lot of stuff for drawing cards and discarding cards. Let's just go ahead and take a look at his ultimate cards, because those are the most interesting. His ultimate card, Strength of Spirit, is going to give you 4 power, and you get to discard any number of cards and draw that many cards. That's actually a very good ability and can actually be comboed really well. That's Angel. Then let's go ahead and take a look at Bishop. He's another type of X-Men who's actually, I thought he was really ridiculously evil at some certain point. But anyways, Firepower from the Future. His ultimate card gives you 4 power, but you can discard the top 4 cards of your deck. You get extra combat equal to those cards instead of the equals to those cards printed combat, and if you already played an X-Men card, you KO any number of those cards. So that's really good. And also, one of Bishop's cards has one of the new types of abilities in this game, which is considered a critical hit power. Now, normally when you play a card in Legendary and it has a symbol like this down in the text, you have to have already played a hero card with one of those symbols. On a critical hit card, you have to have had 2 cards, each with that symbol, in order to get the extra bonus, because usually the bonus is pretty good. So for instance, this card is only a 5 cost, and it gives you 3 combat. If you can do a critical hit, you get an additional 3, so that's not too shabby. That is Bishop. Then we have a new faction to the game, the Marvel Knights, which are kind of like the dark heroes of the Marvel Universe. And this is Blade's deck, Vampiric Surge. You get +1 fight for each villain in your victory pile. So one of the many cards in this set that actually influences your victory pile. And then we're going to go straight to Cable. Cable is another new faction from the game, the X-Force faction. And remember that a lot of these symbols are important for determining your different card abilities, because you're not only going to look at the little colored symbols, you're going to look at the faction symbols as well. And Cable, first off, one of Cable's cards has another of the new abilities from the set, which is Teleport. When you have the Teleport ability, you can actually choose to set aside a card from your hand with the teleport keyword on it, and if you do, you get to add it to your new hand at the end of the turn, which can be really huge. If you don't think you can have a very good turn, set aside the teleport card so that you can have a really awesome turn later on. And I couldn't find his ultimate card, otherwise I would show you. There it is. His ultimate card. You get 5 combat power, but you can KO any number of cards from your hand and get another +1 for each of those KO'd that way. So that's pretty ridiculously cool. We go to Colossus, another X-Force member? Sure, why not? I'm not really up on the Marvel Universe anymore. I thought he was dead, actually. He's obviously got a lot of stuff that's going to give you combat power, and much like the Hulk, you're going to have to take wounds for doing a lot of it, which could be good or bad. And his ultimate card, 6 power. If another player would gain a wound, you may reveal this card to gain that wound and draw a card. So all about gaining wounds. Pretty interesting, actually. Then we have Daredevil, a lot of people's favorite, despite the movie. He's got a lot of very unusual stuff. Basically, a lot of number choosing, much like Spider-Man from the original set, and drawing cards off the top of the deck and hoping for the best. His ultimate ability gives you 7 power, which is really, really good, the Man Without Fear. You can choose a number, then reveal the top card of your deck. If the card is that cost, you can draw it and repeat the process. So a lot of push your luck stuff with him, for better or for worse. We're not even halfway through the heroes, folks. I just thought I'd warn you right ahead of time. So there is Domino, who a lot of people probably haven't even heard of, but she was one of the original members of the original Rob Liefeld X-Force. But she's another member of X-Force, and she's got one of the new abilities as well, which is Versatile. In this particular case, she only gets the Versatile ability if you've played another X-Force card. But the way Versatile works is it always says Versatile and a number. When you have that ability, when you play the card, you have to choose whether you want that number to stand for Fight or Recruit. So that can be pretty useful. Basically, it's going to let you choose how you're going to use the number that you have. And by the way, there's a lot of cards in this set that are only 1 cost and are pretty weak in and of themselves, but they could be useful depending on how you want to do it. That's why a lot of the 1 cost cards are versatile and just let you draw a card. Her ultimate card is a versatile 5 card, so you get to decide whether it's going to be 5 Recruit or 5 Combat right off the bat. And if you've already played an X-Force card, this card and each other versatile ability you use for the rest of this turn produce both Recruit and Combat. So actually, that's ridiculously cool. That might be the first time no one ever bothers to play Domino in our games, I gotta admit. Alright, that actually pretty much covers all of the new hero abilities for the heroes, so I'm just going to rapid fire through the rest of these. You have Elektra, who is a pretty, I'm happy to see female superheroes, but she's a pretty lame one, but whatever. I guess if you have Daredevil, you have to have Elektra. Then you've got Forge, because everyone was just clamoring to have Forge in their deck. I don't know. He was okay in the cartoon, I guess. Now, Ghost Rider I actually like, despite the Nicolas Cage movies, but he's got a really annoying set of abilities that actually involve KOing villains from victory piles and stealing villains from victory piles. I don't know. It's part of the semi-cooperative part of this game I do not like. One of my favorite heroes from the new set is Iceman, mainly because I really like the art on all of his cards. But his ultimate level ability is ridiculously cool. 7 combat. If a villain, Master Strike, or Mastermind tactic would cause you to gain any wounds or discard any cards, you may reveal this card instead. I just love cards that let you reveal and not have to discard to avoid really negative effects. And the fact that it's 7 power is just awesome. What can I tell you? And going through these now, where's Iron Fist? I have lost Iron Fist. I'll find him. But anyways, we got Jean Grey, another one of my favorite heroes. She's got a really cool master ability as well. We got Nightcrawler, who is one of my friend's favorite superheroes. Of course, all of his cards, or most of his cards, have the teleport keyword. Makes total sense to me. Then we have Professor X. Yeah, believe it or not, these are Professor X cards. Those are like his astral forms, and he has a ridiculous ultimate ability that essentially lets you take a villain from the deck and gain it into your deck after you defeat it. Really, really cool. The Punisher, sure, why not? The Punisher has another Marvel Knights hero who's got stuff that's going to affect people's victory piles and actual decks and discard piles. Why not? And then you have another version of Wolverine because people cannot get enough Wolverine. This is the X-Force version of Wolverine. He's a little different than the base games version of Wolverine in that this one's all about card draw. If you draw extra cards and play other Wolverine cards, you're going to get more and more power. All right, I found Iron Fist, and I don't know. I know he's not a very popular hero and never was. He's kind of campy, but I just dig this guy. I always like using him, and he's always my vote when we're always going around the table deciding what heroes to use. And he's got it, just like Domino, he's got one of those versatile cards that's really cheap and doesn't do much, but could be, like the name implies, versatile. And I just love his ultimate ability. It's a 9-cost card, and there's not a lot of those, but he gets 8 power. You can reveal cards from your deck until you have revealed 2 cards with the same cost. And then you draw all the cards that you revealed. That could be just insanely powerful if you work it right. So I love Iron Fist. Anyways, those are all the heroes that are in this expansion. And those are just the heroes. We haven't even gotten through all this, half of the stuff that's in this new expansion. Let's move on to the Masterminds. For all the people that complained about the difficulty and that said it was too easy in the base game of Legendary, I hope you're happy because Upper Deck went in the exact opposite direction. So let's look at some of these Masterminds who are going to absolutely destroy you. Since we're doing this in alphabetical order, we are actually starting with the most difficult, and that is Apocalypse. He has 12 combat power, and no, you cannot reduce that. He always leads the 4 horsemen, and they get extra power for having him be the Mastermind. And guess what? The 4 Horsemen are the hardest villain set. I haven't shown them to you yet, but they are the hardest villain set of everything, including the base game. And Apocalypse has his own win conditions separate from the scheme. So not only do you have to worry about the scheme, you have to worry about his personal scheme. When famine, pestilence, war, and death have all escaped, one of each, all the 4 horsemen into the villain pile, escaped villain pile, you have lost. On a Master Strike, each player reveals their hand and puts all heroes that cost 1 or more on top of their deck. It's awful, 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 awful. And the worst of all, I mean, above all other things, one of his tactics is so annoying, and it's the reason why I lost one of the solo games I played. If this is not the final tactic, you take some bystanders and shuffle this tactic back into his other tactics. Which means that that means that eventually you're going to get to a point where you have a 50-50 shot of ending the game, and if you don't, the game just continues on and on. So it's just really, really hard. But that's Apocalypse. Then we have the Kingpin, who's probably the easiest villain in this set, but I gotta tell you, he's still tougher than most of the Masterminds from the main set. Now, he has a special ability, Bribe, and a lot of the villain and henchman groups from this set have that as well. What Bribe means is that you can use when you're trying to fight the villain or Mastermind that has it, you can use any combination of recruitment or combat or fight value in order to take him out. So that's what makes him kind of easy, but still, he always leads the streets of New York, who are actually kind of a tough villain set. And Master Strike, each player reveals a Marvel Knight hero or discards their hand and draws 5 cards. So he can actually still be pretty tough, even though he's arguably the easiest one. And then because we have so many paranormal heroes like Blade and Ghost Rider in this set, we have to go ahead and have Mephisto, who's also nasty. He's got 10 power, so I would say he's probably the next most difficult. Just below Apocalypse, I would argue, or maybe not, maybe he's not too tough, is Mr. Sinister. He basically is just going to keep taking lots and lots of bystanders and get stronger and stronger, which is really nasty. And then finally, God, I don't really know who was requesting this guy, but we got Strife, who is just one of those awful villains from the Rob Liefeld days. But anyways, he actually looks kind of cool in this artwork. Probably the second easiest now that I think about it. And he always leads the MILF, as I like to call him, the MLF. Those are the Masterminds. Let's look at the schemes. Alright, there are lots of crazy schemes in this set that are much more complicated and therefore much more difficult than the base game schemes. You have transformed citizens into demons. Now this is going to make you put all of Jean Grey's hero cards into the villain deck. They count as Goblin Queen villains, and the lose condition for the heroes is if 4 of those escape. In addition, you're going to have to take some bystander cards and put them next to the scheme, and those count as villains that you have to defeat as well. You have the Executioner Songs, which is whenever you play a hero from the villain deck, that hero is captured by the closest enemy of the villain deck. Just gives them more power. Really, really tough. Steal the weaponized plutonium. Save humanity. Well, sure, why not? Then we got massive earthquake generator. Organized crime wave. Now, I don't think that I've actually played this one, but if it's anything like the other mundane sounding one from the base set, Midtown Bank Robbery, this is the most difficult one. No, I'm sorry. This is Capture Baby Hope. Ridiculously hard, but really cool. Basically, you have to grab a token. The first time that's ever seen this game make you do that, grab a token representing Baby Hope, who I guess was a character from one of the books, and the villains are going to try to escape with the football, essentially. Really, really hard. But this is my favorite. This is just so cool. Detonate the helicarrier. Basically, as Scheme Twist gets drawn, meeting certain conditions, you're going to blow up spots on the helicarrier, blocking them off if enough explosions occur, making it so that you can't put any heroes in that spot, so you've got less heroes to choose from when you purchase. And of course, if all the parts of the helicarrier get blown up, you lose the game. I just love that. Thematically, that's just so cool. So we still have more to go through in this set. Let's go ahead and talk about the new bystanders that they added. Actually, I guess I should have done the new villain and henchman groups first, but nevertheless, this game actually comes with new bystanders. Now, all the bystanders from the base set were just generic. They were just bystander cards and counted for a point. There's 3 different new types of bystanders, and there's actually multiples of these. And how it's going to work now, because these are different, you're actually going to shuffle up the entire bystander deck, all of the old ones plus these new ones together, and then you're going to keep the deck face down instead of face up. And so when you're seeding the villain deck with bystanders, you're not going to know which ones go in there. And whenever you rescue bystanders, you're not going to know which ones you're actually getting until you have them. Now, what these actually do when you rescue them. The Radiation Scientist is going to let you KO one of your heroes or a hero from your discard pile. I guess that means you're experimenting on your own heroes? Sure, why not? Sounds good to me. Then you have the News Reporter. The News Reporter just lets you draw a card when you rescue him. Pretty good. And of course, I should mention that if these are seated in the villain deck, you're going to know that these particular bystanders are going to be underneath the villain, so that's going to make them, of course, a huge target to try and get these special abilities. The Paramedic is going to let you, when you rescue it, you can KO a wound from your hand or from any player's discard pile, but really, why do you want to help your allies in this case? No, you do. Forget that semi-cooperative part. Now, let's circle back to the new villains and henchmen. All right, the new villain groups. We've got the Emissaries of Evil. We got Gladiator, Electro, Rhino, Egghead. Yeah, you know all these guys. Your favorite villains who no one actually knows or cares about. Anyways, from the Emissaries of Evil, we go to the toughest villains in the entire game now, the 4 Horsemen. You have these, Apocalypse always leads them, and if you're real masochist, you'll throw them in when you're not even using Apocalypse. You've got Pestilence, you've got Famine, you've got War, and you've got, of course, Death. He looks familiar, doesn't he? And then we're going to go on to the Marauders. I have no idea whose villains these are supposed to be. I guess it's Punisher? Why would he... I don't know. Who cares? Chimera. You've got the Blockbuster. You've got Vertigo. And you've got Scalp Hunter. Now, that looks like a Punisher villain, but what can I tell you? Then we got the MLF. And just the MLF. Don't call them... don't pronounce their acronym as one word. Please don't. You've got Forearm, you've got Zero, you've got Wildside, definitely a Rob Liefeld character, and you've got Rainfire. Oh, just let it go. Anyways, let's get to some cool villains. Streets of New York, I kind of like them. You've got Hammerhead, you've got Tombstone. Now, these all have the Bribe ability, which is kind of cool. Well, except for Bullseye, because he's a sadistic killer. But Jigsaw, those are the kind of people that Punisher and sometimes Spider-Man fights, and Daredevil too. And then finally, we have the Underworld, which is Mephisto's group. You've got Blackheart, you've got Dracula, and yeah, you would think Dracula would be a little tougher personally, but whatever. Azazel, Lilith, the daughter of Dracula. I'm glad they mentioned that because it makes such a big difference. And they're pretty tough as well. And then finally, let's go ahead and take a look at the new henchmen. You've got the Magia Goons, who are pretty weak, but they can be bribed as well. And I guess as a Kingpin always leads them. You've got the Phalanx, who are kind of like this weird B-list group of weird alien villains, like Alien from the movie Aliens that the X-Men had to fight at times. Whatever. Actually, there's only 2 henchmen groups in this set, so that's the least of them. But that is everything that comes in Dark City. That's a lot of cards. Let's go back to my final thoughts. Now, I'm of a mind that Legendary had a lot of replayability value as it was, and wasn't if something happened, the game sold horribly, it'd still be a very fun game to have if they never release another expansion. Having said that, if you love Legendary, this is a must-buy expansion for you. It just adds so much to the game, so many new different types of heroes. Now, I actually have noticed that despite the awesome and different art for each different set of heroes, most of the cards are not dramatically different, even with the new abilities that come in this game, like the Versatile and Teleport, which are really cool abilities. A lot of the heroes feel very similar, and that's fine. I mean, but it's all about just getting more and more variety. And like I said in my original review of Legendary, just being able to choose your favorite hero is very, very cool. I have a friend who, when we played Legendary, I always say, okay, what's your favorite hero? I got that hero, because most people say Spider-Man, Hulk, Wolverine, all of the basic, really A-list heroes. And my friend, so I was not prepared. My friend was like, Colossus. I'm like, who's your next favorite hero? And no lie, he said, oh, Nightcrawler. Okay, I don't have either of those. Iron Man, I bet you like Iron Man. But anyways, with Dark City, now you've got those heroes. It fills in all those gaps with like the A- or B list heroes, and that's really, really cool. And all the new artwork is cool. And some of the heroes do have really much different effects. I would think Daredevil and Iron Fist are two weird ones. Most people that I've played with do not like using those. I like them. I like playing with heroes that no one wants to, that I think are going to be tough, because I like having a really hard game, especially for Legendary. And speaking of hard, I would say that is the biggest change that Dark City adds to Legendary. Some of those masterminds are just ridiculous. If you fought Loki, who was supposed to be the hardest mastermind from the Legendary set, and trampled all over him and thought, Legendaries offers me no challenge whatsoever, this is an easy co-op, I defy you to take on Apocalypse for the first time and win. Even Mr. Sinister and Mephisto, very, very difficult. Kingpin is probably the easiest, and frankly, I would say he's harder than any of the base masterminds from the first game, at least in my opinion. I played with them all, and I don't know. Apocalypse is just ridiculous. And all the new villain groups, like the Four Horsemen, lots and lots of tough stuff in this one. But that's good. It's good for me, at least. Some people are not going to like just ridiculously hard cooperative games. I do. I'm a fan of ghost stories. I'm a fan of playing Pandemic on the highest level. What can I tell you? I don't care about losing. But see, that's the problem with this game. And I said this in my original Legendary review. It's still just as semi-cooperative as it ever was. And in fact, they add more cards that are only good for getting victory points. The Punisher and Ghost Rider have stupid, stupid cards that let you swipe villains from other players' victory stacks. I'm like, why? Make the cards better. Make the cards actually good for gameplay, for winning the game. Anyways, because of that little bit of competitive streak, I think that it's another type of difficulty enhancer that is still a problem. I really wish that there was a way just to cut all that stuff out. And I'm sure that there is. I'm sure you could home rule it, however you want to do it. Change the cards that say they specifically let you rescue bystanders and stuff and let you do other things. Anyways, that's still an issue with this game. The artwork is all very, very cool. Some people, it's a double-edged sword. People complained about not having new and original art for every single card for the heroes. But then again, other people said if the art is different, it's going to be harder to pick out the cards that you want from a lineup. Every card is going to be, you're going to be like, wait, is that an Iron Man card? I guess it is, or whatever the new heroes are. Like, I guess that's Colossus. Wait, that artwork looks different than the other Colossus card I saw. I can now understand the argument of people who said that they don't want the art to be different. But regardless, there's just a lot of cool stuff packed into this box. Lots of cool schemes. I think my favorite is probably Destroy the Helicarrier, or however that's actually phrased. Really, really cool. Rescue Baby Hope. God, that's so hard. So this game can be as hard or as easy as you want it to be. Although it's actually, to me, it's even difficult to point out which ones are supposed to be the easy schemes and the easy masterminds. But what can I tell you? To me, that's part of the fun of the games. This is a game that you explore. This is a game that every game is going to be different. Different scheme with different mastermind, different heroes. there's just so much variety in this box, and if you love Legendary, you gotta get it. It's just so awesome. Finally, well, I'm sure there's still some heroes that are not in here. There's a particular 4 heroes that are not in this box, but regardless of that, you're probably going to find a hero that you like. Great game. What else can I say? Great expansion to a great game. So, my name is Nick. This is Board Game Brawl. Reminding you to get out there and game every day and in every way. Take care.